Welcome to the Monday Minute of the Hunts Backcountry podcast. These are normally shorter and more informal episodes where we answer your listener questions. But today it is January 1 of 2024. We actually are recording this podcast on the morning of the new year. Steve, how you doing, man?
I am fantastic. Looking forward to 2024, man. 2023 was uh really just a fantastic year.
Yeah,
Just launched K4 and had a lot of hours and effort behind the scenes, but very rewarding and just looking forward to this next year.
yeah,
Got some
absolutely.
fun plans.
We're going to talk about some of the fun plans coming in 2024, talk about some information from 2023. So we're not answering some listener questions today. We do have a lot kind of to talk about. But to start here, Steve, we are putting out a recap of 2023 today that is data driven in the sense that we go into the top five best-selling products from EXO in 2023, the top five most downloaded podcasts of 2023, and then the top five most watched videos of 2023. Um, I guess first things first, there's a link in the show description of this podcast episode to take you to all that. We not only list them, but we kind of give some context and elaborate on each of those items. So if you're just kind of wondering, like, hey, did I miss anything in 2023? Or maybe you're new to the podcast or newer to EXO and just want to learn more, it's a cool recap of kind of everything that you guys liked in 2023. So again, these aren't things that you and I picked, Steve. These aren't our favorite things. This is like data driven, like, hey, here's the best stuff of 2023. And we also got into on the EXO side, the product side, some data on pack sales by model and color and kind of some what we track carefully, Steve, like behind the scenes and make business decisions on, but wanted to make some of it public. So it's pretty cool how it all came together.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm really happy with how the email came together and just I think one thing that I want to do more of in 2024 is kind of be more open with what's going on behind the scenes and like how we operate as a business just to let people and our customers get to know us better. And we did a little bit of that with kind of K4 launch, right? We did the behind the scenes design stuff. And it's just I enjoy doing that. It's received really well. And this was kind of another a way of like, here's some stats for you on what we sell. And obviously, yeah, just covering how things break out between like packs and colors and accessories and things like that.
If we take the top five products, these are like sales by unit, so the number of items sold. The top five best-selling things were the K4 5000 pack system, the K4 hip belt pouch, the K4 stash pocket, the K4 Nalgene holder, and the K4 rifle carrier. Which, if you take those five items and put them together, it is essentially a very common configuration of pack system.
What our
And
average order looks like. Yeah.
yeah, it's like a very average order. So it was curious to me. You have the most popular pack system by far, which we can talk about those numbers. You have two accessories that carried over from K3 to K4. So there's an updated hip belt pouch and stash pocket. And then you have two new for K4, brand new accessories. And you put all that together and boom, here's this awesome pack setup. And it's separately just the five best-selling items as a whole. Um, Maybe talk real quick, Steve, about the K4 5000 and those pack sales compared to what the other models look like. And this really wasn't any big surprise to us going into
Yeah,
K4.
yeah. So one thing that we really use track like our sales data, right? And data, website visits, and all sorts of stuff. It helps us be able to be small, but be as efficient as we are. One of the things in this email is just talking about our average ship time. And for, the amount of packs that we sell, the fact that we have 6 employees plus myself, and our average ship time was, let's see, roughly 50% of orders shipped within 24 hours of being placed. throughout the entire year, which when you account for weekends, when you account for the when we launched K4 back in March, and it took, you know, how long did it take us? 5 to 6 weeks to get all those orders shipped out the door. So really the average ship time is probably 12 hours if you kind of throw out some of those outliers. It's actually pretty remarkable. But we use so data to really inform decisions going forward, and a big part of that is what we have. It's our variant sheet. So we kind of plug in like, all right, if we're going to sell X amount of packs, the it spits out. It's just an Excel spreadsheet we've kind of fine-tuned and really had to rebuild for K4 because we didn't exactly know how everything was going to break down. We just took educated guesses. Uh, but it spits out like, all right, you're going to sell X amount of 5,000 Ranger greens, X amount of 3,600, 7,200, 2,200, right? Goes through every single part that we sell. And that allows us to then produce those parts so that they stay in stock. And then obviously allows us, if it's in stock, someone places an order, we can ship it quickly. And that, like everything we've always do, right? We talked about this numerous times, is take care of the product and take care of the customer. And definitely taking care of the customer, a huge part of that's just quick shipping and having things available for people. Um, so yeah, 5,000 is carries over from the K3 4800, where it always hovered right around that 50 to 60% of sales, and that's 5,000's actually surprisingly, I think it's even higher. It came out right at 60% for
Hmm.
the K4 5000 for the year. So 6 out of 10 packs that we sell are going to be a 5,000. And then out of that, it's 59% of those are going to be Ranger Green.
Definitely the top seller. So yeah, if you guys want to see, I don't want to spend the whole podcast going into every nerdy detail, but I will say if you're into these details, want to see more, we have full breakdown by pack model, by pack color, like that data on shipping timelines, referral stuff. I do want to mention that real quick. We have a whole like graph and all the data on that stuff if you guys want to see it. But something I know you and I are both very proud of, Steve, and this has been the case since really day one of EXO, and it's our goal is 40% of the people that first hear about EXO that hear about us from a friend, not from Instagram, not from YouTube. We don't do any paid social marketing advertising. It's not from a magazine ad. It's not from anything we can buy. It's really going back to what you said, Steve, of like, hey, if we build a great product and take care of our customers, they're going to be happy. They're going to tell their friends. And it's cool to see that continue to be the top piece of data we see. Where do people hear about us? From a friend. Um, yeah. So just wanted to mention that. And obviously, thank you to everyone who does tell their buddies because that truly is our lifeline as a business.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a cool stat to see. The other one that was surprising was not surprising, but it jumped up with K4 was just at 20% of sales were tracked to like independent research of guys just jumping on Google, typing in, whatever, best hunting backpack for Western hunting or backpack hunting or something like that. And that number just continues to increase as a stat for us and was 20% for last year, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And I see that like, phone calls, guys will call in and be like, hey, I've been online doing research. I first found out about you from here, but now I'm looking at reviews or videos. And obviously, a lot of people are looking at a ton of sources to make information. But it's
Hmm.
great that they do that on their own and then end up, calling with questions and maybe picking up an EXO. So, yeah, that is a cool one to see. Diving into top podcasts, Steve. The top two podcasts both came from a new series that we did in 2023 called the Backpack Hunt Breakdown. And you, sir, took the top honors for your solo elk story from that series, the Backpack Hunt Breakdown series.
Yeah, it's cool to me that, I don't know why certain episodes get more downloads than others, but it's very cool on that episode in particular. I think there's just a lot in there to I guess I try to do my best to um say educate, I guess. Like just basically share my thought processes that went into that hunt. And I think there's some, it's pretty rare I go back and listen to episodes, but I do remember listening back to that one, and there's certainly just good tidbits of information there to take away from. It's actually, we'll get into it later, but some inspiration for what we're going to be doing here in 2024.
The second episode, again, also from that backpack hunt breakdown series, was with Ben Reynolds about a solo sheep hunt that he did in Alaska. If you missed that episode, just go listen to it. It's an amazing story, but
Yeah.
also, again, another example where there's a lot you can pull from it, even if you're not solo hunting, even if you're not sheep hunting, even if you're not hunting in Alaska, there's something you can pull from it for sure. Some of the other episodes that popped up, episode 404 was called Archery Accuracy Help versus Hype. It's an episode we did with Kellen Morgan, who is a professional archery tech, and just touching base with him on like what's actually helpful in the archery industry and products and trends versus what's just hype. So again, that was episode 404. My sheep hunt story was up there. Again, that's I think just a fun adventure story to hear from. Podcast we did going deep with John Barklow was really informational on clothing technology. Obviously, John is from Sitka, but that really wasn't a podcast about Sitka products per se. It was more about technology, layering strategies. There's a lot to pull from it. And then I was glad to see this one pop up. Episode 392 is called Solo Elk Success at 60 years old. And it was with Curtis, who is a listener of the podcast. And just a cool story of a guy who's 60, who's still hunting elk, doing it solo. He had success on this particular story, this hunt that we talked about, but he also had a pretty serious injury that potentially was a push the SOS button injury. And you can hear how he dealt with that and more. So, man, just some of the top episodes there. Obviously, there's a lot of good ones. Again, if you want to just get links to all these, that one single link in the show description for the top five of 2023 is going to have all these episodes. And then if you listen to the podcast, maybe you're subscribed, you get episodes, but you haven't gone to our podcast page on our website. I don't probably mention this enough, but if you go there, you can browse by topic. So, like, you could choose elk hunting, for example, or you could choose hunt planning or hunting gear and see all episodes under those topics. And then you can also just search by keyword. So if you ever like, oh, they had, you know, Barklow on there, like you can go search and find it. Or if you want to search for like solo hunt stories, you could go do that. So, um, yeah, just go to the podcast section of the website. There's some great tools there to, at this point, we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of episodes. They're all there.
What are we at?
I
Or
don't,
something?
yeah, I mean, so the main episodes are at four something, like in the
Okay.
420s. Let me double check. Oh, 430s, pushing 440. And then, but those are just like main kind of full length
Yeah.
interview Wednesday episodes. Obviously, the Monday minutes. Um, we have 200 plus of those. We have other ones that I don't call a Monday minute or a full episode that don't have a number. So yeah, I mean, total we're well over 600 episodes. Well over that, which is wild. The other top five category in here was the top five YouTube videos, and this is where we get into some talk of 2024 here in a second. So stay tuned for that. But just to run through those top YouTube videos real quick, the first one was the mountain goat film, My Mountain Goat Hunt from 2022. That film came out in 2023. Our friend Justin filmed and edited that and did a phenomenal job. And it's a full length hunt film from that. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Another top video was just the rifle overview that I did of my custom hunting rifle. I've obviously talked a bit about that on the podcast, but if you didn't see the video, I would say it's a good recap or summary, really, to all the lessons I've learned in the last handful of years in terms of rifle components and a build. So that's one to check out. And then, yeah, there's some good ones on like how to load your pack for backpack hunting, Steve, your 10-day sheep hunting gear list, the quick release rifle carrier overview and install. So those were some of the top videos on YouTube. Again, there's links to everything in those. But Steve, when it comes to YouTube, I guess first say what our focus has been historically, and then maybe how that's shifting and change, not shifting or changing. We'll continue to do that, but how we're adding to it, I guess, for 2024.
Yeah, I mean, historically, it's just been used. Your film was the first film we've ever done, which was, yeah, it was really cool. And that thing saw, what, that 75,000 views or something for the fact that we
Yeah.
don't, we're not a born and raised outdoors. Like obviously YouTube has algorithms for getting more views, more exposure. And the more you post, the more they're going to promote your stuff, right? Throw it up in people's feeds and whatnot. So the fact that that video did that well, like, I was really excited about. But yeah, other than that, it's just been purely just educational on our packs, how to fit them, how to, clean them, like whatever, right? Just, and then we've done a few of the maybe not pack specific, but how to load your pack, gear list type things. But it's been very, very minimal. And a lot of that's just been allocating time, right? Like we are small and there's only so many hours in the day, and it's not, that sometimes things that don't have to get done that day or that month never get done. So it's like there's always been a like, oh, we should do this or we should do that. Just actually setting aside the time and to do it has been just a lower priority. But yeah, going into 2024, a lot of it said comes from that uh, how to, breaking down my solo elk hunt podcast. And I've always wanted, oh man, it's been at least 10 years now I've never seen a hunting video done like in the moment that's very educational. And I think it's not, I don't want to say it doesn't exist out there. I just haven't seen it. Um, I think it's really hard to do because you're in the moment of hunting. You're so focused on, the two steps in front of you and killing the animal to like stop and break that down is not easy to do, but it's something certainly I want to attempt to tackle this year. So we're gonna basically start filming in March and go through just it's gonna be it's gonna be fun and certainly not all this is lined out, but we're gonna uh, the culmination will be like doing probably three different hunts up in Alaska, a caribou, moose, and mountain goat. We'll film all three of those hunts and put those out on YouTube. And again, very like, if you kind of start, if you actually look back and just think about everything we've done, it's always like to even this podcast, right? We focus much more on education than say like pure entertainment value. Like obviously you and I aren't the most dynamic podcast hosts out there. Like you're not coming to us because you want to laugh. You're coming because you want to learn information. And I think that's certainly what the goal with this YouTube project will be is just provide really good information and do it like in a live hunting situation where, all right, there's a moose over there. We're gonna do this because of this and the terrain and the wind and the time of the day and try to communicate that like kind of I mean, essentially going to be live in the hunt. Obviously, you won't watch the video live, but um, that's going to be the goal. And then starting in March, we're just going to start breaking down. We just we used to have these pack cards that we shipped out with every pack, and on the back of it was your essentials gear list. So it's like here's the I don't know how many items, 25 items that are on that list. And if these are in your pack every single time on a backpack hunt, you're good to go, right? Like you may have something that you wish you had brought, but your essentials are covered. You're gonna be able to like survive and hunt, kill an animal, pack it out, like everything you really need. If it's on that list and you've got it in your pack, you're good to go. So the goal would be to really break that list down and do supporting videos for nearly every single item on it, whether that's headlamps, sleeping bags, pads, the backpack, boots, your clothing. It's just gonna really dive off every single one of those points. And some of them will really get into the weeds on. Some of them would be a short little 10-minute video on here's what we use and why and move on, Just depends. Like I've got some ideas on like some we'll do a couple bow hunts, whether we do and then rifle as well. And so we'll dive into rifles, right? And like really try to approach it as if I am, you know, going on my first ever Alaska hunt. Here's the species that we're hunting, and then kind of walk through different calibers that we could choose and the pros and cons, and really, I mean, just break down all the major decisions into to getting, buying a gun. We're gonna do the same thing with the bow. The bow I'm excited about as well because I really want to go into the tuning side of it, break that down, and I think definitely rambling all over the place because the more I start talking about this project, the more excited I get of all the avenues we can take. But the one thing we will have to offer that I think is going to be a little different is obviously EXO. There's no sponsor, there's nobody paying for this. In fact, all the gear that I want to get for this and we're going to do reviews on, we're going to buy unless a company's just like, no, we'd like to send it to you to be a part of this, but it'll all be, here's the top three bows and we're going to like shoot them, compare them, do apples to apples type stuff. But there's not going to be any sponsors that are, I guess, from our point of view, we get to see behind the industry curtain per se, and the downside to um, you know production companies, I guess you could say, is that they have to have sponsors in order to make money. It's just going to be their main avenue. Even, born and raised outdoors, right? Like those are great guys, but they have to have sponsors. It's their main revenue source, and so they have to be loyal to those sponsors. And when you see reviews posted, there's always going to be that bias there of, well, they're not really going to say something bad about this company because they work with them. Um, and I think that'll be something unique that just kind of have a no. I mean, we've definitely taken that approach with the podcast. Like Swarovski comes out with the new EL Range 32s, and I think they suck. We can say that freely, and like I put it back on the company to make better products, and feel free to do the same to EXO. Like without constructive feedback, there's not you're not knowing what to improve on and make your products better. So, um, that'll be a cool aspect of this whole series is it's all just going to be legit information and tear things apart. And if something, essentially, at the end of the day, if we end up taking it on the hunt, it's because it's either we've used that product for a long time and know it works, or we've done some reviews and really tested and kind of, you know, uh, just made sure the stuff was going to work. So even headlamps, I want to go back and we did a review a long time ago, or I did, where I just grabbed like 10 different models of headlamps. The coolest thing I did, which I don't know, I haven't seen done before, was I set all the headlamps up in my backyard on a fence, turned them on high, and then set a camera up to do time-lapse photos like every 30 seconds. And you got to see what the battery life did and how the brightness of the headlamp faded over time, and you got to watch like what happened over 4 or 5 hours in the matter of 30 seconds, by speeding up the video. It's pretty cool to see which ones perform better or not. So a lot of that type of testing I want to do. We did the stove video back
Hmm.
a long time ago. I remember that, where or what, maybe it wasn't a video, but we did the blog about it, of testing stoves and cold weather and wind and burn times and fuel efficiency. And I want to revisit all that. I was actually thinking about that the other day because it's like they've got the old Jetboil Soul, which, crazy enough, Pat that works for us, as a Christmas present. I don't know how he pulled this off, dude, but he
Yeah, you
found an
told me
old
about it.
Soul titanium and gave it to me. It's like somebody had used it a couple times and he found it for sale somewhere online, and um, which is just freaking awesome because those things don't exist.
Yeah,
But I want to include that in the video. It's like, well, no, it needs to be like, everything in the video needs to be something somebody could buy. Like, here's the top three
right.
choices you could go buy right now. Um, Another aspect of this is I definitely, um, I want to have, I'm not sure how to, we'll do all this, but approach from a very budget minded perspective. Like, I've only got X to spend, which is, the reality for 99% of guys. Like, you know, it's cool to do a rifle that's 6 grand that what someone would pay if they went off the street and bought it.
Hmm.
but that's not reality for the vast majority of people. So it's like, what's a rifle that's, you know, less than $1,000 you can go buy and get really good results from? That's something I've thought about. Um, I don't know. Just endless possibilities here of avenues we can take this project, but and we don't have a name for it yet. We just keep calling it the content project for 24. We'll come up with something creative, or
Yeah.
maybe the opposite. Maybe we'll just keep it very bland and vanilla. Um, but yeah, excited about it, man. I think I said I'm most excited about um, the kind of in the hunt videos of breaking stuff down, and um, yeah, I think it's gonna be, if we can pull it off, I think it's gonna be really cool. And yeah, and also there's some really cool development things going on that we'll share over the coming, obviously over the coming months. But I think I'm going to do a lot of kind of like, here's what I'm doing today, and go through stuff. Um, and then, yeah, we hinted that we're working with a clothing company on some stuff. You'll see some of that happen, like as we're prototyping and helping develop that stuff. It's just going to be cool.
Yeah, that's gonna be really cool. It's certainly I mean, we've we've been having these conversations, you and I, Steve, and these ideas are not new. We've been wanting to do this for years, really. But back to your point, it's like we just if we're gonna be a small company and be about the product and the customer at the end of the day, like that's what has to get done, and that's been the focus. And this year, it's like, okay, well, that's still the focus, but how can we free up some time to do some of this other stuff we've been wanting to do for years and years and years? And it's one of those things, if you don't commit to doing it, you won't make the time. So we're committing to
Yeah.
doing it and making some time to do it. So
Yeah.
it will be
And
fun to see it come together.
yeah. And for me, like I'll have more time in this coming year than I think I've ever had. Like, leading the 3 years leading up to K4, when, I mean, if you paid attention to that behind the designs, I was obsessed with designing that. Like, I mean, I was spending 6+ hours a day every freaking day of the week working on that. And then this last year, getting it off the ground, getting the K4 program running was obviously a ton of work. And going to this next year, I should have more time to dive into this. So it's just a good time to do it. And it's also cool. Um, we're March, actually prior to this podcast,
We were
we had
looking,
to
yeah.
dig up the date, but March 10th is the official 10-year anniversary of EXO, which is crazy. And we had to go dig through some emails to find that the day that we started taking pre-orders, and it was March 10th, 2014. And there was kind of some comedy on your and I side there, flicking back
Yeah.
through emails of like you and I coordinating, getting that initial website built and up and running and making sure everything was functional. And it was pretty cool little trip down memory lane there. But that 10-year anniversary of EXO, uh, I turned the big 4-0 this year, which is crazy. So do you. I got you by 4 months, 5 months.
Yeah.
You're
four
August, right? Yeah.
months. Yep.
Yeah. So just I don't know. It's gonna be a cool year.
Yeah, it's wild, man. 2024, there's a lot of cool stuff coming. Obviously, if you guys heard about all that and have suggestions, like we're certainly open to that. We don't have, I know we don't have any shortage of really good ideas, and our shortage is just going to be time to do as much as we want to do. That said, we're still open to input and even things like hearing, oh, guys really want to, see this. Like we're gonna try and pay attention to that, and we have our ideas, but we also want to know like what's at the top of your list as well. So feel free to, as always, just shoot us an email with ideas, feedback, etc. It's a podcast at exomountaingear.com. And yeah, for all that stuff too, like a lot of that will be video. We'll tie that into podcast as well, just so you guys know, if we do this summary of review of products, yes, we'll have the in-depth video on that, but we'll be sure to hop on here and have that audio only format, and discuss that as well. So there's going to be some synchronization between all this new content project and the podcast. And the podcast, we're going to keep doing what we always have been doing, which is answering your questions. It's getting guests. It's, all the in-depth interviews and hunt stories and all that stuff. So that's going to be a heck of a year, man. We're really, really looking forward to it.
Oh, and I had talked about this previously, but golf tournament. I got an
Yeah.
actual date. It's So June 28th right now, Falcon Crest Golf Course, and it's just south of Boise, Idaho. That is, I don't have like a signed contract. I was kind of they're it's the loose date. Basically, they're waiting for their 24 contract or whatever to email to me so I can fill out and make it super official. But right now we've got that date reserved, June 28th. I already talked to Corwin Ford out in they're in Nampa, Idaho. We're gonna have a couple still working on all those details, but we'll have a couple like hole-in-one things where you win a truck. Like we're
Dude.
gonna make this thing really badass.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So that's coming up.
So the 28th, just looking ahead, that's a Friday, right?
Yeah.
So guys
Yep.
want to maybe come in or do a road trip or something. You'd
Yeah,
come in
that's
like
what I yeah.
Thursday and then have a long weekend in Boise area. Be cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Right now, we'll probably do like a depending on how things shake out. Loosely, I'm thinking like something Thursday night. Guys can maybe fly in. We could do a dinner. We'll maybe just do it at the shop at the warehouse. Have a kind of a dinner, welcome dinner. Everybody hangs out. Golf tournament on Friday. I really want to do 27 holes.
Mm.
Um, so which I think would be cool. Go golf 18, take a lunch, come back out, golf the final nine, and it would just be a really long day. But if we got a bunch of people coming from out of town, I don't want it to be just a, show up at 8 a.m., you're done at 2 p.m. and that's kind of it. Like make more of an event out of it.
Hmm.
But I might just keep it at that for this first year, just to, in my experience with doing events like the Northwest Mountain Challenge and stuff like that, just there's going to be a lot to learn. So just kind of scale back. Like I've got all these ideas, but I might scale back just a touch. So just have like that welcome dinner Thursday night, 27 holes on Friday, and then wrap the thing up, and people could fly home Saturday or Sunday or something like that. Maybe we could do something kind of more informal Saturday, like go for a group hike or go shoot
Yeah.
or I don't know, something. Um, but that's happening. Again, if you're like, oh yeah, I'm definitely in, just shoot me an email, Steve at exomountaingear.com. So I've probably got, I don't know, 40, 50 emails that people have sent already, saved up, and I'll kind of I need to get back to all those people with what the date is now, but just letting people know. And then I imagine we'll do probably within the EXO website. Actually, I need to talk to you about that of finding like
We'll
a
make it
plugin that
work.
we
Yeah.
could put in on the website so people can pre-register. But I imagine we'll set like I want to build up what the event is, and then get everything lined out as far as all the features and events and things that are going to be happening with it, and then we'll just turn registration on. Say in February or March or something like that, whenever we can get all the details lined out. And then I do imagine it's something that would sell out pretty quick, as far as, within a week or something like that, the registration will be full. So we'll keep people up to date on what that's looking like.
Yeah. Put those dates on the calendar. Don't buy a plane ticket yet by any means because there's no signed ink yet, but put the
Yeah.
dates on the calendar. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, more to come. While we're talking events, Steve, what does show season look like? Because obviously that's right around the corner.
Yeah.
We should probably let everybody know what's going on.
Well, I don't know what's going on. So no, I guess I don't, we don't, last year we did a booth at Sheep Show. It was just um, it was just a bit much for us, just being the small company that we are. So we decided to, and the biggest reason is SHOT Shows immediately afterwards. Um, and so instead of bringing a booth down there, we're just going to go down and hang out. Friday and Saturday we'll be down at Sheep Show, and then we fly straight from there to Las Vegas on Sunday to go to SHOT Show. So those two shows, you and I, and then a bunch of the other guys from EXO will all be down there walking around. We'll be there. If you got any questions or want to meet up, shoot us an email. But yeah, we won't have a booth at Sheep Show like we did last year. And then we got Hunt Expo in Portland, which some amazingly idiotic reason they're scheduled the exact same dates. And right now I'm trying to figure out. Right now we're loosely committed to being at both, and I was going to send Jake and Pat over to Portland while the rest of us go down to Salt Lake. I'm still waffling on that decision whether we just don't go to Portland at all. Um, that's we'll be at Salt Lake Hunt Expo though for sure, and that's it.
Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, like you said, if you happen to be at Sheep or Shot, even though there's no booth, if you want to link up or say, hey, reach out. And then, yeah, definitely Hunt Expo is, just such a great show, great time. So definitely be there. And then We will be sure to share more as we get closer to those dates and know if we're going to be at Portland for that Pacific Northwest Sportsman's Show as well. What did we miss, Steve? I feel like we went through a lot and we had a lot to cover, but I think
Yeah.
I think
What
we hit it all.
else? I will mention this just for fun, but I want to do that. Rock slide, I want to work with those guys and do like a live Q&A. And the motivation for that is just so much. There's really good information on Rockside, but also guys post stuff that's just like completely factually correct, wrong. Sorry, like just and that maybe it's not even about EXO, but other backpack companies or just their understanding of things. And I thought it'd be cool to do like a full-on live Q&A where people can ask whatever question they want, and I'll just be very candid and answer. And if it doesn't work through them, maybe we'll do it on our own. But I think it'd be cool to kind of have a third party in between. Um, Working on that. Grand Canyon hike, we're death hike for 2024. I think we're gonna do the rim to rim to rim and then do it twice. And probably set those dates for March or April. I've talked to a few people that have done the rim to rim to rim hike. So that's 40, it's different, couple different versions of it, but the one I was like leaning more is like 47 miles and 11,000-ish feet of gain, elevation climbing total. And I've talked to some people who've done it and they do it in a day. And then, but based off of death hike standards, it's like, well, that's not enough. That'd be a crappy day, but that's not, we've done in
One
the 100
crappy day
milers,
doesn't count.
the biggest days were 38, 39 miles with a lot of that on much, either on quote unquote trail, but like where the, deadfall and the trail doesn't exist and much, much tougher. So, that, um, I think doing it back to back. So do that 47 miles, sleep for 6 hours, and then knock it out again. I do think that would be one heck of a challenge. So that's loosely the goal. I'm doing some a little bit more research on getting if we need a permit to go into the park with a group of 20, 30 people or not, because obviously it's a national park. Seems, yeah, I'm doing some more digging into that. That would be the only thing that shuts it down. And we'd have to find another one. But that one I'm super excited about, and we're doing that early in the year. It's in March or April. Uh, so I got to email all the guys and like, well, it's Happy New Year.
Let's
Start
go.
training.
Yeah.
Let's go because
Man, it would be,
that could come quick if it's like early March because there's a couple dates in the middle of the month that are already booked up. Like the Idaho Sheep Banquet, I think is the middle of the month, so we got to plan to be there. Yeah,
it would be so different than anything we've ever done from a death hike
yeah,
perspective. Like not only setting, but yeah, trail mileage, the type of training, the type of gear. I mean, just I'm excited about it. I've done a rim to rim years ago. That's far different than doing a rim to rim to rim and then doing it twice. But I've been in the canyon, gone all the way through. Would love to get back into it. But I'm also excited because it is such a different challenge than anything else. It definitely makes you reevaluate like training, gear, even
yeah.
nutrition.
But
Like it's cool.
yeah, it's more. I mean, you'd be more beneficial to be like a running body shape, right? Versus necessarily like mountain ready. Yeah, obviously there's a lot of correlation between the two, but I think, um, yeah, thin and fast is probably your best bet.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
yeah, yeah,
But cool.
man, it's gonna be one heck of a year. That's all queued up and still, details to figure out, but the bullet points outlines there, and I'm excited to go tackle it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for being part of it. Thank you for your support of the podcast. We are super excited about what's to come and would love to keep including you guys. So, again, if you have questions, feedback about anything we mentioned, just shoot an email to podcast@exomountaingear.com. If you haven't yet, hit subscribe in any podcast app so that you receive future episodes automatically. We're excited about 2024. We'll talk to you soon.